Good morning, good morning, good morning. Well, welcome here. I see Sharifa's here. Thank you for being here, Sharifa. Yesterday we had some talks, and I hope things are going really well with your program. I love it. Thank you for the opportunity. I had a presentation I did yesterday on resilience, return to happiness and uncertainty, and of course, this is definitely a time for resilience. We've got to come back. We've got to return to some sense of balance and harmony in our lives. But today, I'm just gonna talk from my heart about this. I have a formula that I used, and I want to talk from the core of the formula today. Because there's nothing outside of us that really is what's going to give us our joy. It requires something to move from within us in order to move into more happiness during this time. And of course, we're all experiencing loss. A loss is part of the formula because that's the human condition. It's just during the pandemic, this loss has escalated beyond things that we could have even imagined, from losing jobs and losing routines and all of the loss of lives that have occurred. We add in the racial situation that really all of the hatred and judgment and punishment kinds of negative fear-based energies that have been really running rampant even before the pandemic. It's gotten even worse. It's like things have just come out of the closet, even up to the most recent types of activities. I mean, who could even think of trying to kidnap a governor? But the reality is that we've come to a time where there's so much darkness. There's a book, um, old book that Napoleon Hill wrote in 1938 called "Outwitting the Devil," and he talks about how the plan of the enemy to humanity was to get most of humanity into his way of being, which is really a way of arrogance. It's a way of refusing the natural order, the universal laws, uh, the way that the Creator has put everything into effect. Um, Refusing to be obedient to the laws, to the Creator, is what caused this entity to become arrogant and to become ungrateful, and has decided that wants to take all the human beings down this dark road to limit the potential that we have for what we've been created to experience here in this paradise. I call America a paradise in this life. And so we've got to figure out again, that's what creates the loss. That's what stokes the fear. And so we've got to make a decision. And really, it becomes asking the questions about, how do we get to the other side? Because these darknesses are permeating. You turn on the news, and we get the negative ideas. Right? You listen to the conversations of people, we get the negative ideas. Um, Social media and what people are talking about in terms of this current time, we get a lot of negative ideas, judgment and punishment and hatred, pain and sorrow, and all of these things. It just brings us down. And so our soul, yes, there's a part of our soul that is critical, that is blaming, that's complaining, that's insisting on things being a certain way. But there's another part of our soul that wants peace, that wants satisfaction, that wants calmness, that wants to be pleasing to its own self. And this is the part that brings us to happiness. And so during this pandemic, again, I found myself in dark spaces, which I don't get in dark spaces because happiness and inner peace is what I'm all about. And so I figured if that can happen to me, it can happen to other people as well. But the way to get out of it really begins with us being willing to rethink our situation and move out of this loss and fear-based energies into faith, into hope, into love. And we've seen a number of people that have begun to do that. I mean, you, my friend, Sharifa, is expressing love as you've worked with people in your morning shows and pulled this event together. Very highly collaborative, and we love you for that. So this formula first starts with moving out of loss into faithfulness. But I asked the question, what does faith really mean? I mean, we often associate faith with religion, but that's not necessarily the case. Um, we have symbols, religious symbols, but faith is a concept goes beyond religion. I mean, there's a lot of people that call themselves a Muslim, a Christian, a Sikh, a Baha'i, uh, Jewish. We take these labels, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have faith. So I asked, what is the solution to get out of the darknesses that I was in? And I think it's a solution for all of us because this formula becomes a prescription for life, not only during the pandemic, but anytime. And so it starts with moving out of faith and fear-based energies moving out of loss and fear-based energies into faithfulness. So then I asked the question, what does faith really mean? And I found some different definitions that faith is voluntary obedience to the Creator. I'm not talking about religion now because everything in creation obeys the Creator and the laws of the universe by being what it was created to be. You know, that tree, it is an obedient servant. It is being what it was created to be. The animals, the insects, the sky, the sun, everything that's been created is being an obedient intellect because it is being and doing what is created to be and do. And all of it has a purpose and everything has a contribution to make toward the whole. That's why we can't really live without each other in terms of creatures. You know, we get food from certain creatures, from the fruits, from the vegetables. We get nourishment. I'm a prime example of how everything is designed, and this has to do with, again, voluntary obedience is part of faith and loyalty, being what it is that you are here to be. So you take a flower and the flower creates nectar. It's being what it's supposed to be. Then you see the bee comes and eats the nectar. The bee is being what it's supposed to be. It's obedient. And then it goes back and it makes honey in terms of its nature and being what it's supposed to be. And then we drink the honey, and the honey gives us medicine, medicinal purposes in the creation of the honey. Well, the honey is being what it's designed to be, and the human being is the same. And so we've got to look and see that there are certain laws, the way that life is designed, and the pandemic has, kind of forced many of us to get outside of ourselves in these laws, but there's a lot of us who are moving more in the laws. And the way to move out of the loss and the fear is faithfulness, voluntary obedience. It's trusting, is acting in a way that's trustworthy. It's being in a place of safety and security and peace. I mean, we should feel safe from each other. You know, I shouldn't have to, as a man in my skin, as a soul in my skin, I shouldn't have to feel unsafe when see a police car or see a policeman. Right? I should be able to feel safe because I'm part of creation, like everything else. So what happens is we move into this idea of being safe and secure, and all of that begins to give us a calmness of the heart. We move out of the fear-based energies. But that's the beginning of the formula. From there, it's about productivity. It's about producing something that reconciles the situation, producing something that will allow us to come into more harmony, something that's useful and serviceable, that helps people. And when we devote ourselves to being productive, doing those good works in combination with the idea of faith, which, again, universal laws and principles that we live by, is what faith is. That productivity then creates a, a new way of being, a new way of doing. And the last part of the formula is mutual cooperation, cooperating with each other in urging one another in what is truth and what is patience, perseverance. The one who perseveres is guaranteed victory. And so when we unite with each other, unite the whole, I mean, that's what this time is really all about. We're being forced to unite. Now, sure, there are segments that don't want to unite with us, that don't want to unite with anybody else, but that's not the way the Creator really designed this thing to be that way. That's a corruption in the heart and mind and soul of people. And I don't want to call any names. I mean, there are plenty of examples. But we want to move out of that corruption and back into what our original nature is as a human being. You see, the racial consciousness, the sexual consciousness, the gender consciousness, age consciousness, all of these types of consciousnesses have moved us out of human conscious. We didn't see ourselves as human beings before the coronavirus. We saw ourselves as all these differences. I mean, diversity has a place. I used to do diversity training, but what it does is it highlights the differences. It doesn't necessarily bring us to oneness. So now we've seen in the work world, they're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion to take it to another level, because the real goal is oneness, to see ourselves as one humanity, as one creation, created by one creator. And really, we have one purpose, one business, and that purpose and business is love. The old Marvin Gaye song, that all he wants us to do is to love one another. But it's hard to love one another when we don't love ourselves. And so this idea now of faithful productivity, mutual cooperation, it really begins within our own selves. And this is the work that I've been doing. This is the productivity. As you know, I created this ebook, Return to Happiness and Uncertainty, to help us begin to get some mental and emotional relief from within ourselves. I mean, the reality is that Creator is not going to change our circumstance until we change within ourselves. And I know this is a business event. What does all this have to do with business? Well, it has everything to do with business. I had a mentor some years back, and he taught me, David, he taught me that if you want a better business, then you have to be a better person. If you want to grow your business, to grow your life, your relationships to be better, your health to be better, your finances to be better, then that means that you got to be a better person. In fact, you have to recreate yourself during these times to be more appreciative, to live with more gratitude. I wrote a book some years back called 25 Days to Living Your Happiness. And what it does is it outlines 25 different fear-based energies. I call it the diseased ego. Because, I mean, the ego is good, but it can get corrupted by the social cultural influences, by the news, by the pictures that we put out, the images. I mean, that's how our mind works anyway. You have a thought and a word, and then you create an image in your mind. And then there's certain feelings that go along with that. And so what's coming up for me right now is how the news uses images to condition and program our minds in certain directions. I mean, how many times did they show or did you see the image of that man's knee on George Floyd's neck? How many images, have we seen of the violence to Black men or Black women? How much talk is going on right now about all these injustices? I'm not saying it's important. It's important that we begin to do this, but those things pull up um, DNA kinds of memories from our ancestors, even in our genetic code about the violence and injustice that's been done to us. And that keeps us in a certain place. And it also pulls up in the mind of those transgressors, those wrongdoers, those corrupt people who are ungrateful and disobedient to the ways of the Creator. And so these fear-based energies all start with selfishness. This applies very much to business in current life because it's the selfishness that drives us, that keeps us away from each other. And when a person is selfish, only concerned about themselves, only concerned about their family and what they can get, then, or they're only concerned about their race, or only concerned about their nation and what they can get, then that selfishness as a habit leads people to become dominant. And when you become dominant, nobody wants to be around you. So it leads to isolation and separation. Unless you're with other people that are selfish and want to be dominant too. And so that then leads to, focusing in on the past. And it leads to other energies constantly more and more negative, like frustration. Eventually, it leads to punishment, judgment, and hatred, which is the worst of it. That's the outgrowth of selfish domination and separation. That's the outgrowth, is judgment, punishment, and hatred. And we've seen that throughout the history of America. But what I understand is that energy can be shifted. It has to occur on an individual level. Because if we move out of selfishness into selfless service, which has to do with productivity and mutual cooperation, it has to do also with faith, is moving into the idea of service. And the way to do that is by questions that we ask. The quality of your life will be determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. And instead of asking, what's in it for me? What do I get? If we begin to ask, how can I help? How can I serve other people and move to selfless service? Now we open ourselves to the love energy. Again, that's why I appreciate you so much, Sharifa, because I see you moving in love. You're bringing people together with love and helping them to share what passion and love is moving from within them. And that has a lot to do with your business. In fact, I have a guy I know named Steve Farber, and he wrote a book that love is damn good business. I mean, love has got to really be at the heart of our business, the heart of our life. And it starts with us being willing to serve other people. And when we do that, that moves us into communication because we have to ask people questions about what's important to them. What are their interests? What are their aspirations? And if you do that, now you can make a connection. And all of us are having to reinvent ourselves during this time as a professional trainer, facilitator, professional development, as a coach, as a mentor. And that's what been my activity. I'm having to reinvent myself. So I'm actually studying, taking a program by this guy, Jeff Walker, product launch formula. And he's a guy that began the process of online business back in 1996. So a lot of the techniques that we see of people, doing their emails, doing their videos, and then off making an offer, a lot of it started with Jeff Walker. And one of the things that he says about business, and this is coming back to selfless service and communication, is in business, and it's really a way of life. He says that you have to ask your prospects and your buyers what it is they want to buy. It's not you just going, well, I'm going to sell you what I think you need. No, that doesn't work, right? We want to give service, but we need to communicate and ask questions and find out what are people's challenges. What are the things that they want? What is it that keeps them up at night, right? When they can't sleep. If you're dealing with whatever your niche is, your avatar, your ideal client is, what's important to them? What are their interests and aspirations? What are the outcomes that they want? This is what drives your business. This is what drives your offer. Because then you may have to make some tweaks to make sure that you're offering people what they want. What are their problems and challenges? And how do you solve those problems for them? That is the business way, the business strategy. Your products and services are solving a problem for people, but you got to ask them to find out what their problems are. And that's communication. And when you offer the value, even up front, giving people value up front before you ask for money, creates the relationship, creates the trust, creates the credibility, creates, your authority as an expert. It creates reciprocity, because the more you can give to people, the more they want to give back to you, give you something of support. I mean, that's why I'm here with you, Sharifa, doing this, because you gave me something of value, giving me a platform to be on your show. And we've talked, I want to support you. That's why I'm here. If nobody comes and sees this video, I'm here because I want to build a relationship with you. And that's a beautiful thing. You've got that gift. You've got that gift. There's a reason why maybe you didn't get your city council seat yet. Doesn't mean you won't get it, because it puts you in a position to reinvent yourself and begin to do these things that you're doing now, having a positive impact on the world, because you're bringing the love energy, and the love energy that we bring is not just necessarily impacting one person. But when it impacts one person and they feel better and achieving their goals, then that also impacts everybody around them. So this is expansive, what you're doing. And I would like to get a recording, a copy of this recording, because I think it's something that I'd like to share with the people that I want to share love with, and help them solve their problems as well. The problem, really, it becomes an inner problem. Our external situation is not going to change until we change what's within our own souls and our hearts and in our minds. And so I am a catalyst for inner peace, a catalyst for helping that aspect of your soul that wants peace and satisfaction and happiness. I'm the catalyst to make that aspect of yourself dominant. And when that becomes dominant, you become very attractive to other people. Why? Because their souls want the same thing. Their souls want the same thing. So moving out of selfishness into selfless service, up the ladder to communication, up the ladder to connection instead of isolation. And then from connection, you stay in the present moment. This time is forcing us to be present, forcing us to be with our loved ones more than we used to, forcing us to find like-minded people that we can serve and we can help and they can help us, because it's mutual cooperation. It's us helping each other, right? It's not just a one way, take, take, or give, 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 give. No, it's give and receive. That's the law. To give and to receive. It's two sides of the same coin. So moving up the scale from present, we talked about the worst of the disease fear energies is punishment, judgment, and hatred. So what's the opposite energies, which becomes the best of love energies? It's forgiveness, from punishment to forgiveness, from judgment to mercy and compassion, and from hatred to love. And when we bring that to our businesses, to our clients, to our loved ones, to our friends, to everyone we meet, whether we know them or not, we bring mercy, compassion, and love. Now that's the new pandemic. That's the pandemic that's being ushered in right now. Yeah, we're in darknesses. We're in fear. We're in pain. But everything in the creation has a duality. And every action has an equal opposite reaction. And so from this punishment is forgiveness. From this judgment is mercy. From the hatred comes love. They're two sides of the same coin. It's which one are you going to put your attention on? If all we do is put our attention on the punishment that we've received as Black people in America, and we don't learn how to forgive, right? And all we do is judge, and we don't learn how to have mercy, and then that develops into the hatred, and then we don't learn how to love, then how can we be blessed? We have to shift our energy and work with these positive energies every single day. And it all starts within yourself. It starts within myself. Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. We can't let CNN and MSNBC and the internet, Facebook comments, images rule our thinking and our heart and our soul. That's just going to lead to more of the same stuff. And what I've learned, and I'm actually sharing another book with you. I'm reading Joe Dispenza. This is a guy who's into neuro science, how the brain works. And he's got a number of best-selling books, but this particular book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That's really what I'm talking about. Breaking the habit of being yourself from the inside. That negative fear-based energy that all of us are vulnerable to. All of us have been conditioned and programmed by that. I mean, they call the news a program. They call TV programs. Everything is about programming. And it started when we were young. You know, our emotional development occurs from 0 to 7 years old. And many of us have had some type of emotional experience during that time. The emotional development usually stops at around 7. And we've had these traumatic experiences that we have not been able to integrate. We've not been able to assimilate. We've not been able to come to peace with them. And then we become adults, and that little child is still in you, you know. And when we're angry, and when we're upset, and when we're criticizing and complaining and judging and punishing other people, that's that little child. The baby just wants love. So the idea now is moving into these positive energies with yourself. So one of the things I'm working is I'm breaking the habit of being myself to become the new me. And this is what Joe Dispenza talks about. Look him up on YouTube. He's got a bunch of videos out there, but he talks about the idea of Instead of seeing yourself from the past or identifying yourself from your past, which most of us do or have done, right? You know, we wake up in the morning, we're thinking about what happened yesterday. Somebody says something to us. We have some type of experience and it triggers something from the past. And then our minds, our hearts, and our body reacts to that. Because whatever we say, we experience, the images we have, it creates neural pathways, synapses in our brain and in our heart and in our body. And so most of us are operating off of that. That's why those who have a victim mentality, they wonder why the same thing continues to happen with them. If it's a business situation and the client leaves you, and it happens once or twice, and you find yourself without work, without clients, without income, and you struggling, that happens in business. Well, some people, if they think like a victim, then they might look at, oh, that happened last time. That happens again. See, that continues to happen. Well, that's defeatist thinking. That's diseased ego thinking. The opposite energy of victim mentality is taking responsibility. When the business doesn't go like you want it to go, the question is, what can I learn from this? You know, if you make a proposal and you don't get hired, the question is, what can I learn from this? Because I'm responsible. Responsible means taking responsibility or responding with your ability to change, to grow. That's the nature of a human being. That's the nature of all creation, is to grow. Grow from a lesser stage to a higher stage, from lesser potential to higher potential. And we're living in a time right now, we're ushering in the time for maximizing human potential, not just maximizing your race. No, we're created different races so that we will know each other, not despise each other. And the best among you, the best among us are those who have the most consciousness, the most regardfulness for the Creator, for the universal laws. Right? Consciousness, awareness. It begins with self-awareness. That's the key to freedom. And that's really what we're talking about here. Breaking the habit of being yourself means being your new self in the energies of compassion. So, I have an assessment. If you're interested in it, we'd love to get it to you. All you got to do is you can contact me at drzhappiness.com/contacts. Contact. drzhappiness.com/contact. But I have an assessment. You can determine where your energies are. Which fear energies are you operating from? All of us are vulnerable. All of us have been exposed to them. All of us have some of them in us, some less or more than others, but it's part of the human condition. And it'll help you identify those where maybe you might be stuck. So recently, I looked at 5 of the 25 as issues for me. It's going through an exercise of identifying how I do not want to be from my old self, from my teenager self, my young adult self, my childhood self, right? My adult self, myself at work, and myself in my relationships, family. Right? If you had a divorce, a whole lot of pain and stuff that goes along with it. You lost your job, a whole lot of pain can go along with that. You lost your business, had to restart. So I picked 5. 1 is control. The second is devaluation. Because I know I was infected by the idea that I'm not good enough when I was coming up. And I bought that, I accepted that idea as true, although it's not true. And so we've been working on that. And I've got plenty of evidence to know that I'm more than good enough. But I picked that one, devaluation, because I know that happens with a lot of people. It happens with me. It's a hot button for me, a trigger for me. And also I picked punishment, judgment, and hatred as the ways I do not want to be every day. I don't want to speak in that language. I don't want to behave in that language, in those energies. So, identifying how you don't want to be, because those things don't feel good. Especially the worst of it, again, is the punishment and the judgment and the hatred. So I think every morning, how do I want to be? Well, instead of control, I want to be acceptance. I want to feel acceptance. I mean, all of us as human beings, we want to feel accepted, don't we? We want to feel love, right? So how do you expect somebody else to accept you if you're not willing to accept yourself? So self-acceptance, that's where it starts. Instead of devaluation, is self-appreciation. I appreciate myself, and value myself, grateful for myself. Instead of punishment, it's self-forgiveness. Because, yeah, I've done some things that over time maybe haven't been the best things for me. I have to forgive myself. And you too. And instead of judgment, self-compassion, mercy. Having compassion for yourself. And instead of hatred, having self-love. So I work on these 5 things every day. And I offer you to consider where you might be stuck and which opposite energies you want to move in. That's going to help you become better, because as you become better, your business is going to become better. Growth is the natural state. We can't stay the same. Nothing stays the same. Everything must change. Quincy Jones, old record. Michael Jackson, the man in the mirror. We got to look at ourselves. Sometimes we don't want to do that because it can be painful. We may not like what we see. But in personal development, recognizing, you looking at yourself and reflecting critically on yourself, that's the key to freedom, because you got to look at it in order to free yourself from it. And the reason I'm saying self-acceptance, self-appreciation, self-forgiveness, self-compassion and mercy, self-love, is because in order to give that out to other people, don't you have to have it first? Don't you have to take care of yourself, be kinder to yourself in order to be kinder of other people? Put your hand on your heart and be compassionate to yourself and be kinder, more loving to your beautiful self. Absolutely. And when we can begin to do that day by day by day, moment by moment, we begin to master the moments in life. And as we send that energy out, that energy also comes back to us. Is this a business strategy? I think so. Yeah, of course. We've got to have our strategies. We've got to have our plans. We've got to take action. We've got to know the detailed ways of how to craft emails to get people to respond. We got to have our process of having that conversation with the prospect to identify their needs and show them what we have to offer them and develop relations. We got to have all of that. But the most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. And business is all about relationships. What is it that separates you from somebody else? Everybody has knowledge and skills. You're right, dime a dozen. But what's going to separate you is your attitude, your mindset, your heart set. Can people know you, like you, and trust you? Do you keep your word? You do what you say you're going to do? Yes. That's what business is all about. That's what life is all about. Because the more you keep your word to yourself, the more you trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more other people can trust you. And so that becomes really the key to developing yourself, developing your business. I have a formula for improving results. And the main thing for improving results is positive behavior change. We can have all these other things we talk about, but if we don't change our behaviors in a positive direction of where we want to go, it's never going to happen. But most of us as human beings, how do we respond to change? When change comes, what do? We resist change, right? We don't like it. We fear change. So we got to have some processes that's going to help us do what we don't want to do. And that process begins with attitudes, which is what we're talking about, shifting that energy from the negativity to the positivity, from the fear to the love, from competition to cooperation. Why do you see companies creating alliances now? Cooperation, collaboration. So it's attitude plus knowledge plus skills, or attitude, skills, knowledge, and then measurable goals. And what I found over the years of teaching this for 16 plus years and using this on myself and my business is that most people, there are two things that get in the way. I mean, everybody has knowledge and skills. I mean, you have to have that just to show up. So the determining factor becomes the attitude. Attitude is everything. 90% of it is attitude and mindset, heart set. And then the other piece is the goals, having the direction, being clear, having clarity about where it is you want to go. Your vision. What is your vision for 2020? What is your 2020 vision? Clarity, right? And then your mission for this year. I've got some new products and services I'm rolling out. My mission right now is to help people get mental and emotional relief. That's what resilience is all about. You return to these positive energies that keep the soul and the heart, mind, the body happier. Yes. So, I'm going to collect my thoughts here. Well, in any event, yes, the attitude. Some people, they have a good attitude, but they don't have the goals clear. They don't have the direction. They're confused about what do I do now? And this pandemic has done that for a lot of people. So they don't change. And then the other people, they have clear goals, but their attitude stinks. Their mindset, is not, and heart set is not in the satisfied place. The place where they're pleased with themselves and pleased with other people. They're too critical, or they're complaining, or they're blaming others, or they feel like a victim, or they're too demanding and insistent. And so they don't change. And so it's a combination of all of this. And I believe the most powerful of it is the attitude part. And that's where I want to work. Because there's something about within us that keeps us from achieving what it is that we want to achieve. I have another work I did on self-leadership, 7 self-leadership practices to freedom and power. There's courage. This is one of the ways that I want to show up every day. I want to show courage. It takes courage to make a new decision. It takes courage to be in business, no doubt. But courage and then persistence. Keeping at it. Stick to it. Stay with it. Keep going. Whether you feel like it or not, keep doing it. Because the one who persists and perseveres is guaranteed victory. And then the third one is positive mental attitude. This is how I want to show up. All of these 7 is a way every morning in my meditation. This is how I want to show up. I want to show up, as I said, self-love, self-mercy, compassion, self-forgiveness, self-appreciation and gratitude, self-acceptance, courage, persistence, positive mental attitude, self-discipline, key to everything, self-discipline. Making your work, your habits, your rituals, making your contribution a ritual, your productivity a ritual. And then with the self-discipline, then comes self-confidence. And with self-confidence comes self-esteem. And with self-esteem, with all of these, it's a matter of integrity. So we're back to faith again, right? Keeping your word, doing what you say you're going to do, trusting yourself from within, that you're being guided from within. We've been conditioned to think all the answers are outside. No. Guidance comes from within, especially if you've gone through some type of calamity and you recognize who you belong to and who you're returning to right now as we speak. Because that acknowledgement and appreciating that then leads you to a place where there will be some forces that will pray for you, will support you, and you put yourself in a position to receive mercy, compassion, beneficence, a giving to make your situation better. And that's what time that we're in. But we got to acknowledge Creator. That's what this COVID is all about. If you can't see that, maybe the light's not on yet, right? All is who's in charge, right? It's not our leaders. It's not any world leader that's in charge. Nobody. We have this invisible thing that none of us can see. You don't even know if you have it or not. You think you're in charge as a human being? No way. And so this has made us to kind of come back to what's really important. And our difficulties do that. You know, you lose everything, you lose your family, you lose your business, money problems. These things help us to come back to what's really important. And most of us, when we can come out of, you have some serious life-threatening disease you have to have surgery for. All of these things are lost. We started the formula talking about loss. But when you can move with the faith and be productive and cooperate, you know, then you have an opportunity to be successful. So I hope you got some benefit, some value of this resilience formula, return to happiness, to peacefulness, to satisfaction. It starts with recognizing that loss is a part of our condition. Big loss, little loss. But in order to grow, we got to move out of that kind of thinking and feeling and images and behaviors, loss, fear behaviors. We got to move into faithfulness. And we just came back to integrity as a part of faith, sincerity, truthfulness in speech and behavior, voluntary obedience to the laws, safety, security, peace. All of this is faith. Plus productivity, producing something that is useful and serviceable, that helps people. And then from there, mutual cooperation. Find people that are like-minded, that want to help, that want to have benefit. And this mutual cooperation is mutual, but it's such that you don't know who started cooperating with each other first. You know, did you cooperate with me first, Sharifa, or did I cooperate with you first? We don't know. That's true mutual cooperation. It's law. Everything in creation is mutually cooperating. So we want to do, but we want to do that in what is truthful and with patience and perseverance. And so we thank you for your time, for your energy. Again, if you'd like to be in touch with me, then feel free to contact me at drzhappiness.com/contact, drzhappiness.com/contact. Thank you. I love you. And God bless you.